Greetings and welcome to Middle-earth Vision. Here you will have the opportunity to engage with my personal philosophical reflections on the secondary world of J.R.R. Tolkien, and inspired by various scholars of his works. In addition to these musings, I am also an illustrator and will be presenting visual accompaniments in the form of drawings of characters from Middle-earth. In this first episode, I'm going to begin drawing the Professor himself, J.R.R. Tolkien. When I begin a portrait of someone, I always start off with pencil, so I can start getting the features right and making it actually look like the person I'm trying to draw. There's a couple of pictures I'm working off on my computer screen at the moment, so obviously you can't see them as I'm drawing. So yeah, it's kind of my interpretation of Tolkien. I'm not looking to get him 100% photographically right. I'm kind of doing this kind of quick. Hopefully the whole illustration will take me between 3 to 4 hours all told. So yeah, I'm just sketching it out and getting the features correct as best I can. So one of the reasons why I decided to start this Tolkien channel is I was quite influenced by a film of J.R.R. Tolkien. It's called A Film Portrait of J.R.R. Tolkien. It was made in 1986, and Judi Dench is narrating it. It's a fantastic documentary. It has Tolkien's son, Christopher Tolkien, Tom Shippey, which is probably arguably one of Tolkien's most famous Middle-earth scholars, and his daughter Priscilla, and I think his eldest son John, I believe, was interviewed. But it was mainly interviewing Christopher Tolkien, his son, who, when his father passed, took over the Tolkien estate, and released quite a lot of books after his father's death, starting with the Silmarillion in 1977, and then went on to release quite a bit of extra Tolkien material from the archives. A lot of Tolkien's unreleased workings and ideas. After the Silmarillion, I believe the next book was Unfinished Tales, which was literally the unfinished tales of Tolkien. It's kind of when you're reading unfinished tales, they don't finish, basically. And then he went on to release, I think, about 12 volumes of the history of Middle-earth. It's unbelievable that Tolkien had the time to write all that he did. He was a professor at Oxford, and his time, it must have been his spare time, must have just been literally immersing himself in the world of Middle-earth, which is incredible. Did the man eat? Did the man sleep? The wealth of material is just phenomenal. But anyway, I was watching this documentary called A Film Portrait of J.R.R. Tolkien, and really there's a part of the document, was at the beginning, where Christopher Tolkien is talking about his father's disdain for machinery and the artificiality of modern society at his time, during his lifetime. Yeah, he said that Christopher Tolkien explained that the word modern has to be emphasised. And he said that his father wasn't against the modern world as such, for he loved the world and nature. The modern world for him at the time essentially meant the machine as a coercion of minds and a tyrannous reformation of Earth. And that really stood out to me, and I wanted to find out a bit more. So Christopher went on to explain that in this view, one of the reasons why his father created Middle-earth and intentionally portrayed it as an ancient world without technology was about his disdain for modern machinery. And it's explained further in the classic work Lord of the Rings, through the creation of the One Ring itself. Christopher went on to say that the One Ring represents the idea of using power to dominate others and serves as a metaphor for the dangers of technology getting out of hand. I mean, technology has its uses. I mean, it's pretty benign, really. It depends on the user using it. And as technology is developed, like I said, it can be used for benign purposes or it can be used for ill. But Tolkien believed that machinery was a tool for controlling and manipulating the thoughts and actions of others, which is the fundamental aspect of the One Ring itself. And as we progress into the 21st century, it's become increasingly common for individuals to rely on their technological tools rather than cultivating their inherent skills and capabilities. In some sense, you could say that our smartphones have become a modern iteration of the One Ring. And this phenomenon warrants further contemplation, which I'll delve into later. Tolkien scholar John Shippey explains that the ring is a highly modern conception, imbued with immense power, and is capable of corrupting even the most well-intentioned of individuals. And as we all know, as Gandalf states in the pivotal chapter, The Shadow of the Past in the Lord of Rings, the ring is ultimately fatal to all its possessors, and cannot simply be discarded. It must be destroyed in the place of its origin, Mount Doom. This is exemplified not only by the detrimental effects the ring has on its wielders, but also Gandalf's reluctance to take possession of the ring, as he fears succumbing to its corruptive influence. Shippey states that it's worth considering how this contemporary idea fits into the ancient world of the plot, as the concept of the corrupting influence of power is modern and was first articulated by Lord Acton in 1887. Tolkien subsequently incorporates this idea into his novel The Lord of the Rings, where it serves as a significant thematic event. Going back to Lord Acton, who I was talking about a couple of minutes ago, I forgot to say in my ramblings that he's most famous for the saying that power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. It's interesting, isn't it? that what he's saying is that power in and of itself will corrupt a person. And yeah, that's a pretty interesting concept. That if you wield ultimate power, that you end up becoming corruptible, corrupted by the power. And that in itself is what the ring is. It is the ultimate piece of technology, a fast track device to absolute corruption. That's all it is. That's the only reason why it exists, is to corrupt. The only reason why it was made by Sauron is to corrupt. It's a technological device to coerce people into power and corruption. And the weird thing about it is that the One Ring itself can be used for good or bad. By that I mean you can have good intentions if you have the One Ring. For instance, when early in the Lord of the Rings, when Frodo offers the ring to Gandalf, Gandalf states, no, there's no way I can take this, because through it I would obviously want to do good. But even with my well-intentioned willingness to do good through him, the evil power would end up corrupting Gandalf. He would be righteous. It would amplify his righteousness. And Gandalf's subjective way of wanting to do good would inherently make him do pretty horrible things to get to that end. And it's the same with Boromir as well. He was very much swayed by the allure of the ring. He wants to use it to fight Sauron and to protect Gondor. But again, it would end up destroying Gondor. Gondor would just end up being a fortress of evil. So, yeah, there's kind of a likeness of J.R. Tolkien here. I'm getting there. Weirdly, I think it looks more like Christopher Tolkien. But yeah, I can iron things out as I progress. That's the beauty of working in pencil. If I was working with ink straight away, there'd be no forgiveness. So, yeah, I'll get him right. Yeah. Going back to the ring, another thing that's quite interesting, and this is what Tom Shippey has written about in his book called The Road to Middle-earth. It's the chapter about the One Ring, which is really good, and it's kind of almost what I'm basing my ramblings on. And he talks about whether the ring brings out the badness in someone, regardless of whether they're good or not. For instance, it all depends on the character of the person. The ring can make a particular person stronger or weaker. It depends on the personality. If you compare the personality of Gollum, for instance, and Gandalf, like I said, Gandalf would want to use the ring for good. His ambition is a lot bigger than what Gollum's was. Gollum was just mischievous. That was his personality. And when he took the ring from Deagle, the ring's influence over Gollum was very powerful. It was almost instantaneous. It was almost like the first hit of smoking crack. It got him immediately. He had to have that one ring, and there was nothing that was going to stop him. And in the end, he murdered Deagle. Was that murderous intent already within Gollum? Or did the ring bring out that murderous intent for Gollum? Did it amplify it? That's what I'm trying to say. It's really depending on whomever finds the ring. It will play and draw out the evil in someone, even someone who is good, because the ring is wholly evil. These are really interesting thoughts that Tom Shippey has sparked in my brain. It's a really good book, by the way, The Road to Middle-earth. I would definitely go and seek it out. Really interesting stuff. And then there's also Frodo as well. It grinds Frodo down. Frodo has got a personality of reasonable strength. He holds on to his goodness for as long as he possibly can. And in the end, the ring does grind him down. And in the end, as we all know, Frodo does fail in his mission. On the precipice of Mount Doom, at the last moment, he says that the ring is his. He didn't cast it willingly into the fires of Mount Doom. So, was that the ring? It's really hard, isn't it, and it's not clear how much responsibility Frodo has over his own actions with the thing that is tempting him, the One Ring. Yeah, the story presents ideas that the choices we make and the actions we take can have consequences, and that it's difficult to understand the full complexity of the problem of good and evil. Yeah, that's looking a bit better. It's starting to look a bit more like Tolkien, I think. Yeah, I think the pencil is going to lay a good foundation for me to start inking, which I will do in the next episode. And I'll carry on my Tolkien ramblings in episode 2. So, brilliant. I hope to see you very soon. Goodbye. See you later.